It's no secret that I absolutely hated Dell's redesigned XPS 14s and 16s. In my opinion, over the last several years, Dell has taken their larger XPS laptops from some of the best creator ones in the industry to some of the worst. The XPS line, it used to be the #1 competitor to the MacBook Pro, and now it's virtually faded into irrelevance. I literally finished my review of those XPS laptops saying that what Dell had done to them was the equivalent of what Disney did to Star Wars, with the exception of Andor. Anyway, with me is the new Dell 14 Premium, essentially the XPS 14 version 2. Dell has continued with their stupid decisions, now with a very confusing rebrand of their entire lineup, which no one in the consumer space asked for. I talk about this extensively in my video about why buying a laptop sucks. I'll link that one down below. If you do want to have a good laugh, go watch it after this one. Anyway, Dell's PR team reached out to see if I wanted to review this specific configuration, and props to them for supporting independent reviewers even if I give tough reviews. It's the one without a dedicated GPU. You see, the dedicated GPU is one of the biggest things I had an issue with the XPS 14. It's basically expensive to upgrade to and is massively underfed wattage, meaning it performs terribly in this laptop. Even Notebook Check called it the slowest RTX 4050 they'd ever tested. Anyway, I thought, hey, the smaller XPS 13, which is on the shelf behind me over there, it's gotten a lot better over time. So I was interested to see if this laptop makes sense and for who. So today I'm going to walk you through its pros, its cons, and then at the end, who I think should actually buy it. The main pro of this laptop is how modern and stylish it looks. If you're into pristine interior design and your style choice is minimal and contemporary, nothing looks better than the Dell 14 Premium. From its colors to its squared off keys to its hidden trackpad. This laptop is a complete head turner. Calling a spade, if it had a hinge profile, it would get more likes than a 6'5" guy in finance with blue eyes and a trust fund.
I'm looking for a
Dell 14 Premium.
The next big pro is the display. There are two panels available, a high-resolution 3200 by 2000 OLED touchscreen. That is the one I have. And then there's a 1920 by 1200 not touch one. When it comes to the display that we have, it is great. True blacks and a wide color gamut, and speaking personally, I really like 14.5-inch screens. I find it's a great balance of being large enough to get real work done, yet small enough for the laptop to be portable. Now, I've said many times in my videos, the amount of content that you can see on screen, it's not just about the display size, it's also about its brightness and resolution. The XPS does very well here too. We measured over 400 nits of brightness, and that 3200 by 2000 resolution screen makes everything look super crisp. It can also refresh at up to 120 Hz, it even has a variable refresh rate and can go right down below 60 Hz to conserve battery. I'll talk more on battery life later in the video, but if you do want the best battery life, you may want that 1920 by 1200 panel. Be careful though, on a 14.5-inch screen like the one in this laptop, the pixels per inch of that panel falls well below what we would consider a sharp display. CPU performance of this laptop is also good. It includes one of Intel's Ultra 7 processors from their Arrow Lake H series. These processors offer a good balance of performance, yet they're still viable to be in a smaller laptop like this one. Ideal for someone like a software developer, audio engineer, and those sort of folks who just really like a bit of performance. Now, this laptop, it is a significant step forward from the XPS 14 from last year in overall performance, and it is in line with what we expect from this processor. Now, compared to chips from other manufacturers, its multi-core performance is on par with Apple's M4 found in their lower-end MacBook Pro 14. However, single-core performance is significantly behind that laptop. Compared to AMD, it performs similar to AMD's Ryzen 9 365 chip when it's placed in a similar sized laptop like the Yoga Pro 7. When we delve a little deeper, it's also nice to see that this laptop draws very little power for the performance it delivers. That being said, Apple still wins when it comes to power efficiency. Looking at core temperatures during a max CPU load, again, a really good showing from the Dell 14 Premium. Its CPU is kept the coolest out of our competitors. And when it comes to fan noise, it's also a positive of this laptop. If you run in Dell's default optimized mode, it's pretty much dead silent for most tasks. When you run it in its ultra performance mode, hitting the CPU very hard, it is certainly audible, but it's decent for this class of laptop. The speakers on this laptop are definitely a strong suit. Not only is the quality pretty good, but there's this really nice stereo separation. It just makes listening to music on it feel so immersive. Take a listen. If you are in good lighting conditions, the 1080 webcam on this laptop, it isn't bad. The colors look pretty good. My last pro is that at least the SSD is upgradable. It may not seem like much, but it's better than on a MacBook where nothing is upgradable. Let's now switch to GPU performance, as this is a really good transition point into this laptop's cons. The Intel CPU that this laptop has does have a really good integrated GPU. In this laptop, it actually performs better than it does in the ZenBook 14. However, the integrated GPU is still a bit behind Apple's base M4 chip. Now, if you are considering upgrading to the dedicated GPU in this laptop, please don't. It is woefully underfed power, and this also applies to the dedicated GPUs in the larger version of this laptop, the 16-inch. Not only this, but the 14-inch, it does not come with the latest RTX 50 series GPUs. It still uses the RTX 4050, which only has 6GB of VRAM. Take a look at our TimeSpy graph and look at the GPU score only. The dedicated RTX 4050 in the XPS 14 from last year, which is the same GPU for the same power as the one in this year's Dell 14 Premium, it only performs a little better than this laptop's integrated GPU. When you look at wildlife, same situation. Getting a dedicated GPU in this laptop, it really doesn't elevate it into a video editing workhorse or anything like that, and it's absolutely not worth the $400 it costs to upgrade. So once again, that's why I chose to review this version without the dedicated GPU. It's just the more sensible buy. Just like the GPU performance, which is kind of a pro and a con, a pro for the integrated GPU and a con for the dedicated, the heat you feel with this laptop, it's similar. In performance workloads, this laptop is the coolest to the touch out of its competitors. That's great. And by the way, that's when we're running on its ultra performance mode, which runs the fans quite a bit. However, when doing light tasks using this laptop's default optimized mode, it doesn't run the fans that much. While writing the script for this video, a very light task, it hit around the same temperature that it did during performance tasks. So you either get fan noise and decent keyboard temps when on performance mode, or no fan noise and warm keyboard temps on optimized mode. Other laptops, they do feel cooler and quieter in light use than this one does. Next con is the laptop's weight. This laptop should be portable given its 14-inch form factor, but it just isn't. It is unusually heavy. It weighs more than the Omen Transcend 14, which is a 14-inch gaming laptop, and the Dell 14 Premium, it comes dead last out of its competitors. Next is a big one. It's the keyboard. Firstly, there are no physical function keys. If you're an Excel warrior or a coder who uses the function row a lot, this will drive you nuts. Not only is there no tactile feel, but each function row key displays only the primary or secondary function, not both. You have to press the function button to show the one that's hidden. Here's what I mean. In its default mode, all I see is volume up and down. If I want to press F5 to compile some code, which key do I press? It's literally not shown. Anyway, the keyboard also has a slightly unusual layout. The backspace key is shifted to the left to make space for the power button fingerprint reader. Other than these issues, the keys do have a nice soft touch coating to them, which makes the experience of typing on it feel luxurious, and that is a positive. The key press itself, though, is okay. I'd say it feels a little low travel for my liking in that I could feel my fingers bottoming out, but it wasn't too bad. Finally, on the typing experience, the edge of the laptop is sharp, and the front of the laptop is raised up quite a bit. If you're someone who travels a lot or uses your laptop in any situation without proper arm support, you are going to feel this laptop's edge cutting into your wrist. Overall, the typing experience on this laptop, it significantly reduces who should buy it. Alright, the haptic trackpad. It is very accurate and it looks fantastic, completely blended into the keyboard deck. It's a large one too, so even though its edges are technically invisible, I never had any issues finding it. I was going to put the trackpad on the Pro section, but like many large trackpads on Windows laptops, this one has dreadful palm rejection. It's a large trackpad and my palms always touch it when I was typing. There were many times that the cursor just jumped to a random location. How Apple solved this years ago and Windows manufacturers still can't, it is ridiculous. This happens on HP's trackpads too, so I'm not just blaming Dell here. Last point on the trackpad. The sound that it makes when you click, it has this ring to it, which I just don't like. As it is a haptic trackpad and not mechanical, the sound is artificial. I wish Dell just let you configure it in their software. You only have the option to turn off all haptic feedback, not just the sound. Without any haptic feedback, using the trackpad just feels odd. Next up, let's talk about the ports. The big issue here is the selection. No USB-A port, no HDMI port, no full-sized SD card reader. A lot of folks are really going to have to use a dongle with this laptop, and no, Dell did not supply one in the box. Now, I do want to give Dell some credit here though. At least all 3 USB-C ports are fast Thunderbolt 4, and they do support charging. And there is at least one of these ports on either side, which is convenient. Also, the microSD card reader is a fast UHS 2 one. Alright, when you unplug the laptop, its max performance is lowered a bit, but it's still in line with competitors. However, when you look at how long the laptop lasts on battery, you're going to be really disappointed. The HP Omen Transcend 14 with its much more powerful CPU and much more powerful dedicated GPU lasts around the same time. And the ZenBook 14 with the same CPU as this laptop completely smashes it in terms of battery runtimes. This is disappointing. And by the way, I do want to apologize, we don't have the MacBook Pro M4 or the older XPS 14 on this graph. We only started doing this test recently and we just don't have those laptops anymore. Expect that MacBook Pro with the base M4 chip to last longer than the M4 Pro 14 core that we're showing you. Its processor is lower powered, it only has a single fan cooling solution, and everything else about those laptops are the same. Alright, let's wrap. As I mentioned, buying this laptop with a dedicated GPU, it's just silly. I think the configuration that makes the most sense is the one I have. No dedicated GPU, the OLED screen, and 32GB of memory. For that configuration, its MSRP is $1,800, at least at the time I made this video. At this price point, there are just a lot of good competitors. If you're okay with macOS, the MacBook Pro 14 is just a better all-round laptop. Its M4 chip delivers similar multi-core performance, but beats this laptop in single-core and graphics. It also lasts longer on battery, it has more useful ports, and it doesn't have silly issues like trackpad palm rejection or a missing physical function row. On the Windows side, if you want a 14-inch laptop with powerful graphics, the HP Omen Transcend 14 costs less than this laptop with its dedicated GPU, and it performs so much better. If you only want strong CPU performance though, as we showed you today, there are just a lot of competitors to consider. Asus's ZenBook 14, HP's OmniBook Ultra, and Lenovo's Yoga Pro 7. All of these have benefits over this laptop and they cost less, but they do feel less premium and they just don't look as pretty. In fact, if you just want a pretty premium laptop like this one, I'd actually strongly consider the 13-inch version instead. It has better battery life, it feels cooler to the touch, and it's a lot lighter. Let me know with a comment below what you would buy if you were shopping for one of these laptops. And if you want to buy any of them, then check out our website bestlaptop.deals. Over there we have a price tracker. We tell you when the laptop's current price makes it a good or great deal. You can set custom price drop notifications. In fact, you can even find personalized recommendations by using our filters. Just try combining together some use cases like student and programmer. Well, till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and I will catch you later.